and that call is always untraceable. We hope this special with no commercial interruptions will empower all victims to take the first step to freedom.
And some of the interviews we'll share with you tonight may not be appropriate for children.
We begin tonight with a form of domestic violence that's most often misunderstood: emotional abuse. The story of Carolyn Hennecy proves it's just as devastating as the physical abuse. Lakeland, Florida, known for its glistening lakes and what feels like a church on every corner. It's a place where generations have proudly called home since 1885.
I was 2 weeks old the very first time I attended a service here.
Carolyn Hennecy is a Lakeland original, born and raised here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth pew, I sat with my granddaddy.
A regular from the time she was a baby, it came as no surprise when Carolyn picked this church for her wedding day. It was December 1969, a month after her 18th birthday.
I was very proud of my gown.
Flipping through the pages of her wedding album for the first time in years, Carolyn is all smiles reminiscing. But her eyes suddenly dim at the first sight of this picture: Carolyn and her father arriving at church.
I don't look like a very happy bride in this picture, and it kind of caught me off guard. He had just looked at me and said, you know, if you want to turn around and go back, we can.
Faced with pews brimming with guests, she stepped forward, walking into 16 and a half years of what she calls emotional warfare.
I just remember being told so many times how stupid and ignorant and undesirable I was. After a long enough time, you start to believe it. It becomes your truth. And it became my truth. That's when I lost me.
She says the emotional abuse gave way to severe depression, never breaking a bone, but certainly breaking her spirit.
I actually found myself feeling guilty because I hadn't taken a gunshot. I hadn't had a bone broken. And I was feeling guilty and thinking, maybe you're not such a victim after all.
Twice, she attempted suicide.
You just think, what can I do to make it stop hurting? And in your mind, you just need some rest. You need some rest from the abuse.
When your son first told your husband that something was wrong, brought him to the room where you had collapsed, what was his reaction?
His reaction was I could lay there and die, and he went back to watch TV.
Carolyn survived the overdose and went back.
I didn't know what else to do. I wanted my babies, and that was part of the deal.
Her marriage would end Easter Sunday in 1985, when she says her husband hit her in front of the kids.
When I looked up and I saw my 2 children's faces, I made a decision that if God hates divorce, surely he hates what's happening here.
The little girl who witnessed the beating is daughter Melanie.
I still love him because he's my dad, but he's a very hurt person, and you hurt people, hurt other people.
The years of emotional abuse confusing even to them.
Most people think you have to be physically hit.
Kathy Platt is the director of victim services at the Peace River Center.
We see on average 5,000 women and children a year. And out of all of those, because of whether it's physical and sexual violence, there's always emotional violence involved.
100%.
100%.
We had a big backyard.
Carolyn took us back to the old neighborhood where it all began. Back to the street, to the house where hope was lost.
I was in that bedroom and the floor when he kicked me and told me I could die. I don't know that I could go through the door again. I don't know that I could.
She has a heart to help people.
Wendell Smith met Carolyn in grade school. He married her 3 years ago.
I think it just comes from so many years of being in that dark, dark hole, that cloud, that she lived in.
Carolyn began by sharing her story in her hometown of Lakeland. And with Wendell by her side, she wrote her first book, Orange Blossom Wishes. And together, they completed the chaplaincy program at the Family Justice Center of Hillsborough County.
Carolyn is a bundle of energy. She has so many ideas on how she wants to make a difference in the world.
Okay, thank you.
At home in Lakeland, she's a legal assistant specializing in family law. She volunteers as a trained pastoral counselor helping victims of abuse. And on the World Wide Web, her blogs have had more than 55,000 hits. Carolyn's transformation now complete, from victim to survivor to advocate.
I can look at that house and very proudly say, I beat you. I won. I won. I won.
And our thanks to Carolyn for sharing her story with us as well as her family. To learn more